Welcome to the Koffeine Cafe, where we don't serve coffee, we serve school lunches at the old school building. I'm Lisa.
And I'm Z.
And this is the final episode of School Mysteries, Season 1, a series where we look into 7 urban mysteries straight from your own classroom.
The Seven School Mysteries, or Gakonanana Fushigi, is a collection of urban legends shared among students, classroom to classroom, school to school, and generation to generation.
Today, we are taking a dive into 7 more creepy and haunting stories that haunt the schools of Japan.
And without further ado, here's the first story. The Dark Room. You heard scratching from the dark room. I mean, nobody really uses it but the photography club, but even they're kind of scared of that place. It's all damp and dark, and the red light in there doesn't do it any justice. There was that accident too. You didn't hear? Apparently the first photography club had a lot of photos to develop at the end of the school year, but one of the security guards thought it was empty because of how dark it was, locking it up for the summer. Nobody heard from the students until they were found decomposing the following semester, so it must be them calling for help if you heard scratching from the dark room. I'm not sure how common this specific story is, considering the fact that dark rooms in schools aren't that common. I mean, my high school had one, but my middle school and my grade school didn't.
I don't know if we had one either. I don't think so since I don't recall. But if your school has one, I'm pretty sure a dark space would have a ghost story like this.
Yeah. We also had a ghost story with the dark room, but it wasn't about the kid getting trapped in there. It was more of I guess it was a kid who got trapped in there, but it wasn't an old thing. It was like a recent thing because the dark room is new.
Oh, that's kind of nuts, actually.
Yeah, and another story was that apparently the ghost of the kid would leave impressions on the pictures that were being developed there.
That is so awesome. That's way cool. There's
Yeah.
a detail in one of the versions of this kind of story from the 7 School Mystery where they'd check the door and there were scratch marks, like fingernail scratch marks on the door.
Yeah.
Now that's also common.
That's very much similar to that one story with the really heavy door or something. The one we did a couple episodes ago. I forgot what it's called, but
Me too.
the version that we had in my school, it was specifically that ghosts would put imprints onto the pictures,
That's
which I
awesome.
find a little more creative and actually uses the concept of development a bit better.
I think there is probably a story like that around a school somewhere. If it's common, it has variations.
But again, this isn't too common because not every school has a dark room.
Kokuri-san. Do you know Kokuri-san? It's not any specific person, it's kind of an animal spirit that you summon through a game, much like a Ouija board with a coin. You may either summon a teacher or a trickster spirit. It's not worth it though. I heard someone from the other class tried it out, but she started to go into a seizure. But even after medical assistance, nothing worked. Only after they met with a medium did they find out that the spirit they summoned actually used her as a conduit. Since then, the game was banned and nobody dares play it anymore. That's why I ask you, do you know Kokuri-san? Oh, okay, I know this one. It's actually quite a hefty fellow. It's kind of like Ouija boards, right? Where you summon a spirit to talk to them. At least
Yeah.
in the modern day, Spirit of the Glass, that type of game. But there is an older version, the origins of this, that have a different sort of ritual attached to it. The idea is vaguely the same. But yeah, that's interesting. Also, Kokuri-san, I know we illustrated a fox spirit type, but they can come in different forms. Supposedly, if I recall correctly, they also have different sort of personalities and you'd ask different things of them depending on what spirit you either A, attempt to summon or B, end up summoning. There's a lot of details. If you guys want to see a video on that, let us know in the comments. It'll be fun.
You seem very excited about this.
Yeah, ghosties.
But yeah, I honestly thought that this was actually just a fox spirit at first, but I know you went into more detail with the research after we made this video, right?
Yes.
I honestly thought it was just a fox spirit, but the idea that there are multiple versions of them, and if you get the wrong one, it can really mess up your entire, well, not just your day, I guess, but that's
Yes.
terrifying.
Just a bad day. I think the reason Kokure-san is definitely used as the fox, rather, is used as the figure for it is because the fox spirit is quite common.
Yeah.
It
yeah.
likely has to do with some media as well, showing that as the general representation. But
Yeah.
well, I can look into it more.
Yeah, understandable. The old school building.
Enter at your own risk. Rumor has it that the old school building appears out of nowhere in the middle of the night. It looks the same to how it did before the new building was erected, old and falling apart. Classes are held in empty rooms, playground equipment move without wind, and spirits continue to operate everything as if it was a regular school. They say that if you ever see it, you'll be drawn to the building. And if you ever try to leave, hands will begin to reach out from the courtyard to drag you back in, which is why you should enter at your own risk. Okay, so this is a fairly common thing. I know that a lot of schools have an old school building. It's a common trope in a lot of anime. Ooh, the old school building's haunted and whatnot. But yeah, old school buildings are creepy.
Yeah, there's also this trope where most of the old school buildings contain all of these spooky stories. Like, for example, Hayate the Combat Butler, the old school building had the anatomical model just roaming around casually, and one of the characters had to like beat them down. But as far as I know, a lot of media does show all these school mysteries happening here specifically. I mean, Corpse Party had an old school building as well, and it's essentially like an isekai because the school itself is gone, or like it's just there but no one's allowed to enter, and then suddenly you just wake up there. Or
Yes.
you're just kind of like urban exploring, and then like you get trapped there, and then something chases you.
Yep.
Yeah, Miss Out was like that too.
Oh yeah, old school building, except it's just other school building, other school. Yes, you get me.
But yeah, it's kind of like a hub for all of these creepy like urban legends and
They're
stuff.
all roommates. Oh my god, they were roommates.
No.
Before we continue with the next mystery, we'd like to thank our sponsor, World Anvil. World Anvil is a site that allows you to write, organize, and publish rich settings and complex characters. Write, world build, and manage your stories all in one platform. And if you check out the link in the description below and use the code KoffeineYT, you can check out everything it has to offer for 40% off of your first year. Now back to the video. Yoji Baba.
Be on your guard. As the sun sets and the shadows grow long at 4 p.m., beware of the haunting figure of Yoji Baba. She is said to be covered in blood with clear glazed eyes, pushing a pram full of bones, stalking the hallways after school. She preys on unsuspecting students, with some saying that she drags them into the depths of the shadows, never to be seen again. Others, however, say she may paralyze you before leaving you locked away in a dark and musty bathroom. That's why you should be on your guard. This one's fairly interesting to me because like Yoji Baba sounds very Russian kind of.
Baba Yaga.
Baba Yaga, yeah, exactly. So I'm wondering if this came from like say Hokkaido, like a part of Japan that's closer to Russia.
Oh
And, like,
yeah.
Was it kind of like a common thing in that area because of like trade and stuff?
Actually, I mean, like, phonetically, it does sound similar. But also, man, we have a lot of 7 school mysteries. Well, not us, but, like, you know, there are quite a few that are scary old ladies, and I feel bad.
Yeah, like I guess a lot of people are just afraid of scary old ladies.
Fair
I
enough.
mean, this is coming after an episode with an older lady selling legs, just straight up legs,
Just legs. Maybe feet.
not for free.
Not for
Not for
free. Never
But
for
yeah,
free.
It's interesting though. It's interesting because it's the same tropes as other 7 school mysteries as well. Like say Hanako, like if you mess with her, she'll drag you to the toilet, like Yoji Baba here. But instead of a young girl, it's an old lady.
Girls are scary.
Yeah, like what I mean is that the story, like this particular story, it's echoing a lot of the stories we've already told, and I guess this is one of the reasons why it's hard to research the 7 school mysteries. It's because
That's true.
a lot of them echo each other. There's a lot of stories kind of overlap, and I do wonder which one kind of originated first.
That's true, especially when you're, like, in a particular area or school. You have to wonder what was in the area and what goes on there
Yeah.
that leads to this one figure being that story.
Right. The old graveyard. Why is this school so haunted? You may have asked this given all the stories you've been hearing, but rumor has it that the school is actually built over an old burial ground. They say that the government bought the land of a temple containing multiple tombs for the school, but despite the reassurance of movement, they just left the bones and bodies where they were. This is why you may see souls roaming at night, looking for the final resting place they were robbed from. This is also why the mysteries within the school may have become a thing. And this is also why you may be asking, why is this school so haunted?
Oh, this one is fun because supposedly, it's a true story, but I can't find the specific details. I know I did once, but I couldn't verify, like, if the written schools were the right ones. But yeah, it's a thing. You build above a burial ground.
It's a common story. Our school had it too. If you guys watched our versions of the school mysteries, I also had a version of that. It was actually used to explain away why there were so many ghosts in my old school. Like, my grade school apparently was built over a burial ground or of some sort, and the spirits were angered and all of that. One version of the story had the ghost merge into a giant monster thing that roamed in the woods, which later turned out to be a golf field. But
That's incredible.
a child's imagination can go everywhere.
It can go wild.
I think that's ultimately what's happening here. But the story before the old school building and like the new school being built over burial ground, they're not too different. Both of them are used to explain away the whole 7 school mysteries. Like, everything is because we built the school over an ancient burial ground, an old school that had like some sort of tragedy, a temple or of some sort, and like essentially, if you go to the school, you're just kind of screwed either way.
The mysterious painting. Don't mess with the painting. If you dare to visit it at night, you may see the ghost of a student hard at work. They say that he passed away before the annual art contest, but returned to the school to finish his masterpiece. Each night, the painting becomes more and more detailed until the end of the semester when it's finally complete. But it doesn't end there. A new painting appears the next year, starting the process all over again. Some say that if you bother him, you'll be cursed to paint endlessly yourself. So unless you know how to paint, don't mess with the painting.
Yeah. We also had this in my old school, but like the photography room, it was a new sector of the building. It's actually more on that the storage room was haunted because someone died in front of the building where the storage room was.
That's horrible.
Yeah, it was a recent death, but like people do hear. Okay, so I used to be an art student there, and like the storage room was a classroom as well where you can paint and all that, and I used to use that for painting. And a lot of people complain that you hear a lot of noises and all that. I have felt stuff in there, like people peering over my shoulder, looking at my work. Turns out there's something there. The doors, the heavy doors, open by themselves. Like murmuring in the back, because like there's a huge divider between two sides of the room. Like the divider is essentially cubicles, and you can hear murmuring from the other side, but if you go there's no one there. It was that kind of stuff, but I've never heard of a painting itself.
Actually, like that is pretty like the unique aspect of it, because we have had something similar like this with the bust. The room with the paintings is always haunted. There's always one piece, whether it's a painting, a bust, or something else that's just cursed.
Yeah, and this is actually, I think, more believable because more schools, I think, have like art rooms. So
yeah,
it's more likely to have an art room than a photography room. And at the same time, this makes more sense to have like more painting ghosts than actually just having a school with a lot of paintings.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. The red shoes, gloves, and hat. The red shoes, the red gloves, or the red hat. These are the articles of clothing you may find around the school. They say if you wear them, someone will come and cut your feet, hands, or head. There was a student at school that offed herself after getting into an accident, losing her feet, hands, and disfiguring her face. This drove her father insane, leaving her red shoes, red gloves, and red hat around the school to look for who can fit them to replace his daughter's missing parts. Now, which one are you wearing? The red shoes, The red gloves or the red hat? Okay, so to preface this, we found this in a manga collection from like, when was it? The 80s? Or like,
Yeah, the 80s, I think, was like.
yeah,
It.
and like we found a bunch that we're actually like looking like researching. We've been researching them for season 2. And yeah, season 2 is happening. But this one struck a chord with me because verbatim, this is an actual story that was being passed around in grade school for me.
No way.
Yeah, word for word, we were afraid to see articles of red clothing around the school because there was a story going around that there was a ghost looking for her parts, and her father would kill people who would actually wear the clothes perfectly.
That is so nuts.
Yeah, like word for word, we were afraid to stay at school around like, I think it was past 4 p.m. Mostly because like we end classes at around 3. But past 4 p.m. apparently they will just appear all over the school. Red gloves, red shoes, red hat, like the works essentially.
That would be so funny if it's just like one guy who's like, you know what'd be funny? You know what'd be hilarious?
What?
You know, leaving around like random red shoes. Like imagine finding like.
I thought you were actually gonna say something.
No, but think about it. Like think about it. Like someone decides like, hey, I own a pair of red sneakers anyway. Well, what's the little harm in scaring a couple of kids?
Yeah.
A lot of harm.
But the thing is, this is like not just a story that's found here. I know in Thailand there's also like a movie about like another urban legend they have about red
Similar.
shoes.
Really?
Yeah.
This is actually quite unique to me.
Yeah, like the story there is that there were red shoes that are being sold in like I think a thrift store or something, and if you wear it, you'll be able to dance like its former owner, but you get so exhausted and it'll get so attached to you that it'll like your legs will pop off or like your feet will get cut off by the ghost or something.
I want to read on that. That's an interesting story.
It's very similar. Like that one I thought was very similar to the story that we experienced, but this one was verbatim, and like it was kind of spooky because like this is a manga from like the 80s or something. I don't know, like it's old. We'll put up the actual information here in case we find it. But for context, guys, when I was in grade school, it was around the year 1999 and 2000. That's when I heard it. The internet wasn't too popular.
That's crazy.
Right. It was around the time that stories like these would be hard to like be told from country to country. I wasn't in Japan. Anyways.
And that was once again another look into 7 school mysteries. If you'd like to see more of our past stories, just like this, you can check it out right here. As always, we'd like to thank our members, Butter, Shifter, Mothman, and Neki fans, as well as our cafe producer Nick for their support. If you too want to help support the channel, consider joining the memberships. We would really appreciate it. Thanks for watching.